Hello guys, and welcome back to another video. So some of you may have noticed that last week I didn't upload, and the reason that I didn't upload was actually the inspiration for this video this week. Last week was really stressful for me, trying to get my head around travel to events and returning from events, especially with a British passport living in a foreign country. I'm filming this on Sunday the 2nd of May. And as we have seen this morning with COVID at the European Championships, everything is completely uncertain. Whilst I am extremely grateful for BWF, Badminton Europe and host nations trying to put on events, right now it seems like it's complete and utter potluck, whether we get it right or whether events are hosted, because COVID is just playing absolute games with our sport at the moment. Now, I'm a player that I organise everything, so from the tournament entry all the way through to get into the tournament, so travel, accommodation, food, logistics. I organise that all myself, which has its benefits but also has negative points. For example, today, actually, I was supposed to leave to play an India Open, which would be my first tournament with my new flag. That all got cancelled, but actually I was planning and I was booking things because India was being hosted. Now, as somebody that does that themselves, that incurs costs, and you have to look at visas, flight costs, whether you get cancellation, etc. So I thought it would be interesting to show you what it is like to be a professional athlete on the badminton circuit right now, trying to get to events. So I start with my diary, which is probably one of my most valued bits of equipment for planning and just day-to-day life, actually. And I also just have some scrap paper. You can see that I've already started to scribble on here a little bit, because there's so many things that you need to consider before actually leaving for an event. Even before COVID, and now COVID, it's just absolutely crazy. I head on over to the BWF Badminton corporate calendar, and here we go, we scroll down and we're going to be looking at Malaysia. So we click on Malaysia, and as you can see, there's a lot of forms and a lot of things we need to fill out. So we start off with this one, which is the tournament prospectus. Now, this is a long list of information about the tournament that we have to read through. So I actually right now have been making a list of the first key things that I need to find out from the tournament prospectus. So for example, first I need to know entry deadline, that's the most important, so I make sure I'm actually in the tournament. Then I need to see if I need a visa or an invitation letter, because they also have deadlines when applying for them to the tournament. I also then need to look at arrival airport. Where am I actually going in this country? Because many countries have different airports. I then need to look at accommodation, which has completely changed now, because pre-COVID, you weren't actually necessarily made to stay in the tournament official hotel. You could use stuff like Airbnb, Booking.com to find a cheaper option, because sometimes the tournament hotels are extremely expensive. That's not the case right now because of COVID. Everyone has to be in a bubble. Then I look at the schedule. So I look at the schedule because I need to know when I am potentially playing and when potentially that I will be able to leave the country. Then I look at arrival date. Now, arrival date also has changed due to COVID. So arrival date usually would be, if it was in Europe, maybe 1 or 2 days before my start time. But right now, because we need to be in a bubble and some countries need to quarantine, that could be anywhere from 3-4 days before the tournament. And for example, in Malaysia, it's nearly around, I will be there maybe nearly 2 weeks. Then, of course, because I've seen my schedule, I then can book potentially a flight home, or then also a flight onto the next tournament. So hopefully that potentially could be Singapore the following week. The SkyScanner. So SkyScanner is one of my best friends. I've worked out that I need to go to Kuala Lumpur Airport. So if I type in Malaysia, there we are, Kuala Lumpur. Now, the tournament starts on, for me, round one could potentially be Tuesday the 25th of May, but I actually need to be in Kuala Lumpur on the 18th of May. Then I will look to come home. We kind of gauge it on level of tournament, so I think that I can potentially come home, I would say, on the 28th of May. If the standard of tournament was slightly lower, I for sure would stay into the end, but I'm really realistic about this. Also, I do not want to be wasting days because I am paying for this tournament. So if I'm staying in the tournament hotel longer than I actually need to, right now I could be saving £200, £300, £400 if I get my leave date correct. Okay, so we're fully loaded. So if we scroll down here, you can see there's loads and loads of different options for my flight. Some have, for example, 22 hours. It's not looking so nice. Some have 2 stops. So I need to consider what's best for me in terms of travel time for preparation, and also in terms of cost, because of course usually the more expensive flights, they are the best travel times. Back over to the prospectus, and I've come down to accommodation details. So as you can see now, there is one tournament official hotel. So this is this hotel here, and I will be in a single room. So it's $180 per night. Also now, because of COVID, hotels have usually now have rules about food. So as you can see here, that our meals will be distributed to us, to our rooms, I'm guessing. Yes, and you can see that all players and team entourage are required to stay in a single room on the first 7 days of organisational quarantine. So this is not a cheap trip to Malaysia. COVID testing protocol. So as you can see here, there's a COVID testing arrangement already in place by the tournament. Now, of course, every tournament is doing their absolute best to stop COVID getting into the bubble, but as we can see today, with Victor, with Mark Lamphus, it's I don't want to say it's impossible, but it feels that way right now. So I also need a COVID test, which I will have to book and organise in Polish, which is a little bit tricky, but luckily I have my friend Victoria Jobczynska to help me, because I will need a COVID test, PCR in English, and it will need to be emailed to BAM and to BWF before I'm able to arrive in Malaysia. Out of the prospectus now, and I've come back to these forms that I showed you a little while ago. So looking at these forms, right here we have practice request form. So I actually travel alone to these type of events at the moment, so I will need to fill this out for myself, but hopefully find somebody that is able to practice with me, which is a consideration that I need to make when I am going on long trips. Accreditation form, so we need accreditation to get into the tournament. What else have we got here? So visa form. Yep, so I filled this in already, and this goes with the travel pass application guidelines, because for Malaysia you need a visa invitation form, and I also need to fill in this application. Then I also need to inform Malaysia Open what my flight details are so that I can be picked up from the airport. Now, of course, I'm running through this all really quickly just so I don't bore you guys, but just so I can convey all the different things that I need to do before I even consider leaving to go to Malaysia. Having said all of that, right now I am actually in the reserve list for Malaysia, so I'm not actually in the main draw right now because Malaysia is one of the top events on the BWF circuit, but I still have to do all of this to then make sure that if I do get promoted, which right now we have no idea if that will happen, but it's more likely than usual because people are getting COVID, people are struggling to travel. So I'm doing all this, but I may actually not have to go to Malaysia in the end. So that's the most stressful part of all of this, is trying to organise it alone. Trying to sit there and Google entry requirements with a British passport leaving from a foreign country is a major problem that I'm finding right now. And also when we get there, we may get COVID, and then, like for example, I know that some players and Europeans right now have to quarantine. So I think it's for around 10 days, 14 days, because they have contracted COVID whilst being at the tournament. So they spent all that money and they can't actually even play the event. Deadlines are a lot stricter in tournaments at the moment because people need to know who's coming to the country to okay it with ministry, government, border control. So last minute planning and last minute booking, if you do get promoted, isn't possible right now. So we are having to plan as if we're 100% going to events. Then this event may be cancelled. So like in India, I booked my flight, I did everything like this, and then the tournament got cancelled. So all that time that I've spent trying to organise everything myself is then wasted. Of course, we play badminton because we love the sport and we want to compete, but realistically, this is real life. So for hotel and flight, before we even got to Malaysia, I'm looking at around £2,500 to enter the Malaysia Open. Now, that is a lot of money, and it is a lot of money, and these are the type of costs that tournaments are getting right now, especially long haul tournaments. That's not saying that I begrudge paying this, but it's just the realization, and just to explain to you and show you that we are competing and we are doing so, and this is the realistic value of a higher end tournament right now on the BWF circuit. Do I want to play? Yes. Do I love playing? Yes. But that's realistic. That's what it looks like right now. There will be many other things that I need to consider before I leave. For example, I need to make sure that I have somebody there at a team managers meeting for Super 100 events and above, because that's compulsory. And usually I travel a lot by myself, so that's something that I need to consider. Things have changed now due to COVID, because, for example, before COVID, I would, like I said before, look into Airbnbs and cooking for myself. So I would be finding locations of supermarkets in relation to the hall. I would also be looking at maybe flying to a different airport so that it's slightly cheaper, and then hiring a car to then drive to the event, which may seem a little bit long-winded, but actually it can save hundreds of pounds sometimes. But everything has been affected due to COVID, and like we can see today in the Europeans, I don't think anyone's safe going to events, but I think you can see that people want to play and athletes want to compete, because it would be quite easy today for them to cancel all of the finals because of the risk of COVID, but clearly athletes want to play, so the finals went ahead. I have made a little document up that I did distribute to some of the Welsh players that were asking me for help about getting on the world circuit. So if you would like that, please just leave a comment below, and I will 100% send that to you. It's like a checklist to go through for tournaments. It's not just for tournaments in the Far East or the high level tournaments. It's a checklist that I would use if I was going to Polish Open, Austria Open, Irish Open, even the events in the Far East. So if that's something that you would like to see, then please just write a comment below and I can send that over to you, absolutely no problem. I am now off to plan actually another tournament, because just before Malaysia there is Spanish Masters, which I am entered into, and I'm in the main draw of that. So actually I need to plan as if I'm going to both events right now, and then see what happens closer to the time, which can be a little bit stressful, but right now I want to play in anything and everything that I can, so that's what has to happen. Thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you find it informative, and I hope that COVID restrictions do start to ease as soon as possible. Like I said, I was inspired to make this video because I have literally spent the last week Googling British requirements for travel, because as well, having a British passport and Brexit and stuff like right now is so confusing, especially when you're in a completely different country. Please let me know if there's anything you'd like to see in the future in the comments down below, and see you next week.